Welcome to Miniature Wargaming Labs. I'm Brian,
And I'm James.
and today we are going to be discussing what game is it, James?
So we'll be discussing games called Battlespace, ultra modern solo skirmish game. And the reason I picked on this one is it's actually been quite popular, and it is designed to be a solo game. So we've been discussing a lot of games that can be played in a solo function, but this is the first one where they actually don't have an adversarial setup. It's either played solo or co-op. So very similar to Blackstone Fortress. But there isn't an option for someone to take over the bad guys in this.
Okay. So who made this game?
So this is actually, there's a story to this. So right now, it's the second game by a company, very new, called Table Salt Gaming Designs out of the Carolinas. Now, that's for right now. So you can't get a physical copy of this book yet. You go into Wargames Vault, similar to Drive-Through RPG, and you can download it. Normally $12. They've been selling it, put it on sale for $9 since the game released. So it's very affordable. However, it will be moving into the Modifius family.
Oh, really?
Yes. So Modifius is going to pick up this game, and they haven't decided if it's just going to maintain through Wargames Vault as an electronic-only PDF, or if they're actually going to make a physical set to go with this. It's really going to depend on how popular this game gets and if there's enough demand out there to justify the print run.
All right. That's actually really exciting for them.
Yeah, I can get Octung Skirmish Game for all you call it Cthulhu, and you can get Battlespace.
Yeah, definitely. So what is the theme of this game?
All right, so right now, this is an ultra modern game. It's supposed to be a very small skirmish game. So at total, you're only going to need 20 models, but it's set in modern Middle East. So they don't say Iraq, Afghanistan. They just say someplace in the desert where insurgents are going to shoot you. So that's the theme right now. So we've seen a lot of that coming out lately, and a lot of focus on that area. So this game just continues into that, but with the solo play function.
Oh, very nice. So what do you need to play this game? Since you said it's just PDF right now, which probably means they don't have a miniature line.
No, so this is miniature agnostic, and the guys who set up that way, I think everyone who starts down the path of making games realizes that it'd be great to be Games Workshop or Warlord Games and have your own miniature lines that people will pay any amount of money to play. But especially in the field of ultra modern, there's a US company and a couple of UK companies that really dominate the landscape. And so it really hasn't coalesced into like Warlord Games or Games Workshop yet. So most of those games are pretty miniature agnostic. And what you need to play this game is it is a card-driven mechanic. So you will have to download PDFs of the 4 different types of card sets, the rule book. But beyond that, you're going to need the playing space, which they range from 2x2 to 3x3. You'll only need 4 models to play you as the solo player, 4 models, and they recommend 15 opponents out there. So if you actually look at that, that'd probably come out to, depending on where you buy your minis, under a $30 investment in miniatures. If you're going at like the 28 millimeter scale, like get something from Radio Dish Dash. Or if you play something smaller, I mean, 20 millimeter, 50 millimeter moderns are much cheaper than 28s. So it's very low cost entry. So theoretically, you probably get into this game for under $50.
All right. So like you could use a lot of the Reaper lines because Reaper does a lot of sci-fi miniatures.
Well,
a good way to go.
So I wanted to talk about reskinning this game because that's not the first time people have talked about like how to reskin this game. So if you go onto YouTube, you'll see people use their Star Wars Legion minis.
Okay.
So you could play 4 Rebel troopers versus wave of stormtroopers, or flip it.
Mhm.
Have 4 stormtroopers, and if you have the files off Thingiverse, you could print off some Ewoks. So I thought about that. Get like 4 stormtroopers and just waves of Ewoks coming at them with their little bows and arrows and spears and everything.
I like
So
that.
we could talk about that, but that, like I said, it's just a card, and it's rules of how to shoot and how to control the AI. There's no demand that it has to be the Middle East.
Yeah.
I think as they go forward, they're going to play with that, but we can talk about that a little bit later.
Okay. So who should play this game, and where does it fit into the universe of games?
All right. So the whole reason we're talking about this is this game really came out at the right time. They have been talking about making this game, I think, for over a year now, and they got it ready, and then COVID-19 hit. So if you have stacks of modern U.S. miniatures and your Taliban, ISIS miniatures, and you've got no one to play with, this game is for you. So if you can't get out of your house to play a game or see your friends, then this game is for you. So just really perfect timing when you think about it. And I think at any other time, probably wouldn't have done as well. But
Yep.
to be this game's been for about 2 months. So once it's settled in that this is going to be a long haul isolation situation, you just see the popularity of this game shoot up. So that's where it fits.
Awesome. I mean, we are getting to see a lot of solo variations to games, and a lot of new solo games come out, which is awesome because solo gaming was kind of making a rise before COVID even came along. And now we're actually seeing it really come into fruition as its own powerhouse of a genre, now that people are not able to meet up as frequently or at all with people to play games, which I really enjoy because it opens up the possibilities for the games the games that are being developed, and it also creates a new genre for games to be created for. So I think it's great to see like an ultra modern one, a sci-fi, a fantasy, like we're seeing with Frostgrave and Rangers of Shadow Deep. So we're really getting a lot of really good games and variations for solo games.
Yeah, I'd have to say this is up on the level of Rangers of Shadow Deep, because solo play in the ultra modern world right now is, involves zombies in some form.
Yes.
So, and is that really ultra moderns, or is that you're moving into the Walking Dead or All Out War, Last Days as a solo play? So it's once you put zombies in it, and then you take that. Well, is this really ultra modern, or is this just a fantasy world that you're living in? But I think this will have legs beyond, because it was designed to be solo play, but they wrote co-op rules. So
okay.
You can actually see a point of where even once this is over and you want to play someone with a game of ultra modern, especially if you're doing like a new person, do you want to have that adversarial relationship of where you as the experienced player has to make that call of where, am I going to crush my opponent because I know how and I know the rules better than them, or am I going to give them a soft pitch and let them win? Because you imagine a lot of the people bringing to miniature gaming, especially nowadays, come out of board gaming, just because the miniatures in board games have evolved beyond like the little meeples to actual fully sculpted models. It's well, let's take the board away and the hexes and let's play. And it's well, hey, here's ultra modern. You get these 4 guys, I'll take these 4 guys, and we'll talk and we'll work this out, real co-op, and we'll complete the scenario. So I think COVID's going to work in getting a lot of the hardcore ultra modern guys to switch over to playing this solo because it's designed to be that way. But then once this is over, it's like, hey, if you want to get into this, here's this co-op game that I've already played for the last, but COVID should only last another 3, 4, 5 years. So, so you can sit next to me, we'll play.
So how do the mechanics work in this game?
All right, so this is your standard. Everyone has hit points. Everyone has a shooting skill and a stabby skill. So melee and long range attacks. However, you don't actually have an attribute. So you have to think about it. Most characters, like we'll use the D&D analogy. Your strength is 15. Your strength is 18. And that gives you a modifier which you roll to do something. All right. Here, the opponents, the models that are attacking you or that you're attacking have a number. And you have a modifier about how good you're shooting. So you're always rolling on your ability to hit that target. So you don't actually really have attributes. You have equipment, but you really don't have attributes. You just have modifiers to show how good are you at hitting the AI that's at the other end of the board there. Otherwise, it's a card-driven mechanic. So they actually give you pre-generated characters that allows for it to be balanced in solo play. So you have a range of guys, and you pick 4 out of that group, and then you have the cards for your equipment, and those have points. Then you give equipment to the guys, and then there's your opponents. They have their own set of cards, so you can like shuffle up and deal, or the scenario will tell you which cards you need out there. And then you have what they call the sit rep cards, and those are the ones you flip every turn. So it's that card-driven mechanic of, well, what happens this turn? And when you flip it, it says like, the guys get closer, the guys get far away. They decide not to charge you. They're just going to shoot you. You can run into an IED that you trip and it blows up there. So, and it's a D20 system, not a D10, not a D6. So I was kind of surprised about that because, I like the D20 because it gives you that 5% increment versus like the D6. So Games Workshop makes that call that, well, everyone has a game of Yahtzee where every board game uses D6, so we'll just stick with D6. Well, that only gives you 6 variables like to play with percentage-wise. So the next option is, well, D10. Well, that's 10% increments. If you're going to do that and go out and buy special dice, why not just buy a D20? So it's going to give you a lot of, it gives you a lot more play to stack the modifiers on there. So I thought that was interesting, and it's high roll wins. So if you're used to playing D&D, you'll get the idea that you got to roll that 20.
Or Infinity.
Yeah. Not like Zona Alpha where it's like down, roll low. Low is good.
All right. So what are the unique features of this game? Now, you kind of went over like the card-driven mechanics, the fact that it's a D20 system, which you don't really see a lot of other than in like Infinity.
Yeah, so it's a card-driven mechanic, which we're starting to see a lot more of. I think that plays on like what Warhammer Underworlds has done that. Fistful of Lead. A lot more games are starting to throw out the card mechanic and the deck building, which stems from the poisoning of our miniature war games by Magic the Gathering. Of like people are used to cards now, and like that's how you generate your randomness with cards instead of dice. So
yes,
you've got that, but also it's the way they manage movement. So one of the PDFs you'll get, and I keep pointing over here because I have the PDF over here. It's just an instinct. But so what they actually do is everything is driven off an index card. So your movement is actually, how like Games Workshop, I don't know if Infinity has templates of where like your firing arc and your movement is all like that funny template. Well, these guys didn't make a template. They just took an index card and said, Well, your move is one index card, which,
I like
instead of
that.
having to get a ruler or anything else, you can print off an index card. If you want to throw a hand grenade, there's actually like a little arc for the hand grenade. So a
That's
little
cool.
parabolic arc. So you actually put the card down and say, well, if I chuck the hand grenade, would it make it over the wall?
Well, let's
So,
see.
it was just simple, such a simple solution. And I think I listened to one of the interviews with the author. He's it's a game that his daughter could play. She's like 13, so like the age of my daughter. So it's like, well, hey, here's the card. Well, where does the hand grenade go? Well, put the card. Okay, there's the little arc. All right, cool. How do I move? Like, put the card and move. So really simplifies a lot of that, the paraphernalia. Like MCP and any of the Fantasy Flight games, you have what, 3 different movement templates and a shooting template. It's like, here's a 3x5 card.
Range templates, the proprietary dice. I mean, all the extra stuff that you need for those games is a little much. So I like that. It's really simple and really awesome. I think that's
Yeah,
actually really like inventive, and I would love to see that in other games.
yeah.
So moving on, how is the book laid out? I know it's just a PDF right now, but yeah, just describe how it's laid out.
So it's a 26-page PDF. So it's actually a very short rule book. Now it's important that you read every sentence carefully, because to get it that short, similar to Games Workshop with Age of Sigmar, of like, to get the rules that short, they had to be economical with the sentences, so they're not going to repeat themselves. So start at the beginning, read your way through. But it starts off with explaining the character's abilities, move, shoot, health points, stabby points for melee, and then it goes into the different phases. So how to determine initiative, how to fight, how the AI is going to react to you. And then they have advanced rules. So I do like that when they have basic rules and advanced rules. So they have rules for if this is at night, if there's intervening terrain. So if you're trying to teach someone the game, I like having beginner and advanced rules, because there's nothing worse than trying to teach someone BattleTech of, oh wait, but there's an obscurity modifier, but I've got a night scope and a red dot laser. So you like add all these pluses and ones.
You have to know, yeah. It's like, oh, I got a -2 because I moved too far, and then 3 because I'm in water, and then 4, and then plus this and plus that. Yeah. No,
an assault rifle or a pistol. So.
Like that. So how is gameplay organized? What are the different phases in the game?
So there's your initiative, there's the player phase, and then there's the cleanup phase. So it's only 3 phases. So it's kind of like playing a game of solitaire, of where you can cheat at any time, because it's the solo play rule.
Solo play rules.
Yeah, that's you're only cheating yourself on there. So it's really simple. You have like we'll talk about scenarios later, but you have 5 scenarios. Your guys are going to set up. You're going to do all your stuff. Then you're going to use the cards to determine what the bad guys do to you, and then you resolve any shock, bleeding out comes at the 3rd phase. So similar to like Contact Front, which we've talked about before. But with those 3 phases, it gets very fast. And since you're only dealing with 4 guys, it moves along really quickly.
Awesome. So how do you build your? Is it a team? Is it a like a gang? Ultramodern, I'm guessing it's going to be a troop or something like that.
Yeah, so you're basically doing a 4-man fire team, and so they give you PDFs that have all the cards for the different guys. And when you look at the pictures, this must have been friends of theirs, because it actually looks like pictures of people, and they use names, and they look like real names in there. It's not like John Smith.
Wow.
So how many do you get? I think it's like lost count. It's over. I think it's 12 or more different cards, but you got to pick 4 out of that. And each guy's got different modifiers. Like one guy can move better than others. One guy can shoot better than others. One guy can carry more equipment, so there's no equipment penalty for loading them up. So once you pick your 4 cards, you then put down like equipment, and you have a point limit that you can set for like
Okay.
not everyone's Rambo running around with like the squad assault weapon, like firing from the hip, and like there's got to be some balance to that. But that's really how you create your team. So honestly, I could see where you could shuffle up randomly, like take all the cards, and it's like, who am I gonna, don't game it, just like shuffle up and who's on the fire team today and deal it down if you wanted to. So it's a 2-step process for making your team.
Yeah, I've done something similar like that with the Infinity. Each blister pack comes with a card with miniature on it, and mix it up and build a team like that. I really like that because it's a challenge. It's always fun to build your list in the most useful way, in the most powered way. But I think you get a lot of fun out of just rolling for stuff.
Yeah.
So speaking of customization, how is a game customizable? So how do you do? Is it individual character? None. It's just single profile. That's it.
Yeah. So I think I've heard the guy who did the rules on this, he had a point system in mind when he assigned the attributes in there. So I think some people have gone and reverse engineered the math and are like figured out what his point system was and have made their own characters. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to sit there with like this spreadsheet and say, okay, well, that's 5 points. No, it's just equipment is how you modify guys. And there's no campaign system. I know that's normally our usual questions in there. So there's no like giving +1s to strength over time, or like he somehow learns to shoot better, or he gets a new scope. But that's what makes it stripped down in solo play, is that you're not spending so much time on the front end getting your crew ready to play the game.
I think that's also a big plus, because I don't see it like a lot of the ultra modern games. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't play them. The campaigns are more, more drawn out. Like they're like wars. It's like a campaign. You go out and you have a objective, but this one sounds like it'd just be better for just like a one-time thing, just to
Well, yeah, since you're only playing against yourself, I mean, it's all a game of the imagination. So, in essence, this is solitaire. So this isn't Texas Hold'em poker in a tournament. This is a game of solitaire. So you get to pick the cards. If you want to cheat, feel free. You're only cheating yourself. There's no real setup. It's just sit down, put a 2x2 board, and then put some cards down, pick a mission, put those cards down, and you're done. You can start playing. Right. Because what does it matter if you fine-tune your guys? You're only beating yourself.
Exactly. It's just to have fun. Yeah. Which is what games are for.
Well, what's the term you use? Beer and pretzel game. So this is if you're drinking by yourself with your little toy soldiers. No one will play with you.
Or should play with you.
No, should.
Public safety and everything. So, so you said there was no campaign system with this. But is there scenarios in the PDF? I know it's a short PDF, but
so you get 5 scenarios in the main rule book, and for Memorial Day, they actually did like a free PDF drop on Wargames Vault where they put more scenarios. out. So
Awesome.
the scenarios, like most of the Ultra Combat, I mean, they're under one page. It's just a layout of the board, and it tells you, okay, start here, end here, put the bad guys here. And so that's really the scenarios. So, the first scenario is just like a couple bad guys. So that's like your tune-up one. And then the later scenarios actually have like squads of bad guys. And I probably should explain the difference. So they have two types of bad guys: enemy straggler, which is just some random dude who decides to pull out a gun and get involved, and then enemy squads are actually a few guys together, and then enemy sniper, he's more like a straggler. So, but one thing I should say that I like about it is that they actually have like a 3x5 card with every enemy squad's spot on the card. So if you want to know how to set up your guys and move them, once again, put a 3x5, put your index card down, put your guys on it, and that's how they'll move around when they get the card of like they charge you. So that's great for as a beginner. It's like, well, how should I move these?
Oh yeah.
Do what the card tells you to do.
That's perfect. So what is this game missing? Obviously, you said doesn't have a campaign system. So, would you think that adding a campaign system would be good?
How would you do a campaign system solo? I mean, that be like playing a video game. So I guess you could do something, but I'm honestly, we'll probably talk about this again when Modifius starts helping us. So I can expect some changes there, and they've already talked about doing different places. So we'll see if it's like not only just adding scenarios but adding campaign books. I would love to see more like $2-3 scenario books, campaign books. If you wanted to, I've already seen people ask like, hey, can we do like the Troubles in Northern Ireland? No one does that. Little touchy, too soon. But you could do the Falklands, like, hey, here I'm on the beach, I'm up in the hills, I'm on the other side of the island. So I could see that of where there's an order to how you tackle the scenarios. And I think other games have done this of where I've seen Kill Team do this in some of their campaigns of where, all right, if you beat scenario 1, when you go into scenario 2, you'll get an extra this. But if you lose scenario 1 and go to scenario 2, you've got to take away something. So I could see like something like that with the campaign system. Now this game has some rules for vehicles, but vehicles don't really get involved.
That makes sense.
But of course, if you added that and did more than say like a Humvee, how do you make that fair? Because it's like, you have your MRAP, like, well, they shoot at it.
It doesn't affect me.
that means to make it balanced, you'd have to bring in more IEDs or guys with RPGs. So it's like you just added to the complexity. Better that it's just 4 infantry guys, and they move that. I think there's some talk about bringing in special forces and dogs.
Okay.
It'd be more like a SEAL team. You have your fur missile, little guy, little dog with a little camera on his back. So I think anything I can suggest, I think is already in the books, like to be talked about because of Modifius. So this is something like when Modifius does something with it, we'll talk again about where it could go after that. We'll see what they do with it.
Totally. I like that. And it's already going somewhere awesome. So I don't need to ask that question. So why should I play this game?
Right.
Because you know me, I don't play modern. I don't play war games or the classical sense of war games. What would be my appeal to this?
So I was actually looking at this, and we talked about reskinning them. So I was thinking this, Ryan, you have orc models from Games Workshop.
Almost all of them, yeah.
Yeah. So imagine this. What if I grabbed 4 Games Workshop Imperial Guard guys and then had 15 orcs on the other side?
I'd say that'd be a quick game, but yeah,
Well,
it'd
I
be
mean,
fun.
if the AI is that, this guy's charging you and he doesn't care about his personal safety or who he shoots around with, I was thinking like, well, that sounds like 4 guardsmen and a group of orcs. It's like, and you don't have to play humans. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, it's just a picture of a guy on a card. You just don't look at that. You just have mechanics of how to take 4 guys, get them from one end of the board to the other, while 15 other guys try to stop them. It's like, well, I can use any model. So it's like, I was thinking about, since started buying into Code 1, it's like, well, I could take 4 Yu Jing, and let's say that, I've done my covert mission, or I'm doing my covert mission, and there's not, what is it, O12 special operations are after me, but you're O12 mall security guy. Well, my 4 guys would take on, the 15 mall security rent-a-cops. Well, we
Yeah.
can do a game there with like infinity models.
Where you're getting chased down by a mob of nomad Morlocks, and
Yeah. So we throw some remotes in there, call it a game, right? So it's like, since, they're, as long as you buy their book, they probably don't care what miniatures you bring. There's no reason that it has to be ultra modern. We could throw, as long as they have things that shoot long way, and you put any real miniature line into that. So that's why you brought that up before about, using infinity models with Spectre operations. No reason you can't use infinity models with this. Just 4 of one and 15 of the other, and you're good.
cool. I like that. So why shouldn't
You don't play anymore. I know you're at home by yourself, and you're not painting. That paint rig behind you is just for show.
Well, I don't have it next to me, but I also have a paint bucket, and that's what I've been using recently.
Well, that's not actually a real painting station. That's just a 3D. That's just a green
This
screen.
is just a backdrop. I'm actually just an empty.
This isn't real.
We're both actually have backdrops behind us.
Yeah.
This makes me look like a gamer.
Yeah. You just steal the background from on tabletop, put it behind me, like, make it look like I have shelves of miniatures behind me.
Yeah, I just have I can just grab something, but it's just a green box, and it's just going to be filled in later. So.
Oh man.
So going back to my question, why shouldn't I play this game?
All right. So the why you should is like, so this is a rule set. You can play solo or co-op, and honestly, we could use any miniatures we want. So you wouldn't want to play it if you wanted a little bit more complexity, or you didn't like ultra modern, and you didn't want to reskin to play different miniature line. So it's like, or you didn't have $9, price of a number 7 at Burger King, super at the full meal size. That's, you could buy like the triple Whopper and get like the medium fries and Coke. That'd be the cost of this game. So if you didn't have that money to throw down, if you didn't want to print off cards, there's various reasons why you wanted to do it.
Okay.
Some people don't want to play miniature games solo. So I mean, I have my.
That's very true, and I totally get that. I enjoyed solo gaming. It was a little more enjoyable when I could go out and meet other people, but it's still very enjoyable for some reason. Having that reprieve to get away from other people was nice, but now that that's my only way to play miniature games in a physical sense is it's not as fun as being able to do it at home as a when I can't go out and meet people on the weekend, or I have an extra 2 hours in between something at home, and they'll just set up a table and have fun. Now, it's the only way.
Yeah, some people don't like games of solitaire. So if you don't like solo play, not a game for you.
I get it. Awesome. Well, do you have any closing remarks on this game? Of course, we'll be talking about it again very soon when it comes out when Modifius comes out with their rule book. And of course, if they do something like they did with Rangers of Shadow Deep, it's going to be a beautiful book.
Yeah, hopefully they do the physical print. So the thing I say is, since Modifius is taking it into their stable, how much is it going to cost? So it's $9 now. When Modifius fundamentally change it, that might be a big reason why you wouldn't want to buy into this. Come to think of it, maybe you want to wait until Modifius does their full polished version. Does it really matter?
Really good point.
Well, does it matter? Because like with Rangers of Shadow Deep, if you're playing a solo game, does the addition of the rules matter? It's not like I'm showing up to the store and it's like, well, I bought my Warhammer 4th edition army. Well, I only have a 9th edition. And no, we're playing 4th. It's an argument with yourself. But I think there's just, when is Modifius going to drop it? Would you want to buy it now for $9 and then have like the new, fancier, streamlined, better rules come out 2 months later? There's talk about offering you a discount if you bought the first version on Wargames Vault with the Modifius version, but that would probably come down to like, is it a physical book? Is it just going to stay virtual? So there's a lot in play there. So I'm sure we'll revisit.
So the uncertainty is definitely a drawback from this game. Not the uncertainty of if it will exist in the future, is the uncertainty of how it's going to exist in the future.
Yeah. Especially if like they don't offer a discount if you bought it up front.
Yes.
And then they sold a book. So I don't know what was the delta between Rangers of Shadow Deep when it came out originally and from the hard book.
It's a good $20, but of course when it came out in the hard book, it's the deluxe edition. So some of the mistakes were fixed. A hardback, extra art. It's nice binding. So they just really went all out with the production, which really upped the price of it. Where if they just did like a paperback version, it would keep the cost low. But I know Modifius. I have plenty of their games. They do tend to go a little all out with their stuff. So I'm gonna guess that it will be a little more pricey than the $9 buy-in right now. But also with Modifius, you will get a decent product.
Yeah. Was there any rule difference between Rangers?
No, not at all.
Okay. Well, I think they've already talked about polishing the game, so that's already going to change.
Yes.
So there's some variables up in the air in this game. So I'm hoping to revisit it, especially if they do like they say and offer opportunities to like place it in different settings and have more options than the characters they offer right now, or maybe a way to customize characters. So this might be one of where like, hey, $9 solo, let's do it now. If you had to pay it again, I mean, I throw money away on useless games anyway. So listen,
same.
I'm just helping grow the GDP.
Yes, that's what we're best at.
One rule book at a time.
One rule book at a time. All right. Well, I think that wraps it up. Unless you have any other things to add.
No, I think we're good right now.
All right. Well, thanks for watching. This has been Miniature Wargaming Labs. Until next time, I'm Brian.
And I'm James. And we'll see you
next time.
soon.